Are you about to book a sailing with Viking Cruises? Or maybe you already have, and now you're trying to figure out exactly what's included in the price of the cruises so that you can nail down your final budget? Well, what I'm going to cover today is 7 things that Viking does include in their cruises and 4 things that they don't. And I'll also show you how you should be getting one of those 4 things actually included for free, but we'll talk about that later on in the video. Hey there, travel lovers. It's your trusted cruise and Tauck tour and Africa safari expert Shawn Power here. And as I said, what I want to talk about today is exactly what Viking Cruises include in their prices. Now, just so you know, I am kind of more talking about Viking Ocean Cruises today. I don't sell a lot of Viking river cruises with my clients. Most of my clients go on Tauck, usually if not Tauck, AMA waterways. Viking's kind of lower rated when it comes to the river cruises just because they have, the most people on the ships with the smallest rooms. They have the least inclusions, the most basic excursions, that kind of stuff. I'll talk about that in another video. But again, today I'm mostly talking about Viking Ocean Cruises, but a lot of this actually does apply to Viking River Cruises as well, and maybe I'll mention that along the way. But what I want to talk about today is 7 things that Viking Ocean Cruises does include in your price, just so you understand it up front, because I have a lot of clients who go with Viking on their ocean cruises. They're real high quality, by the way. I consider them upper premium, so they would be about the same level as Oceania. Really good companies, small ships, very destination focused, very inclusive, not all inclusive, which is what I'm going to cover today. But they are usually better prices than the ultra, we'll call them all-inclusive small ships like Regent, Explorer, Crystal, Seabourn, Silver Sea. But again, I'm going to talk about today Viking Ocean Cruises, who fits into the upper premium cruise category. So the number one thing that they include that I think is a real plus is everybody gets a veranda room when you're on a ocean cruise. So, if you're like me, I've been on 90 plus cruises now. And when I first started, a lot of us all went on the big ships, the Royal Caribbeans, the Princesses, the Carnivals, those kind of things. And I certainly did that many, many years ago. And, they have the inside rooms, as we know, that have no windows. They have the ocean view rooms where the window doesn't open. And everyone wanted to get in the balcony, so you got the fresh sea air. You can go out and have a little bit of privacy. Maybe when your partner's getting ready, you're not on top of each other, for a little bit more room. So the balcony rooms are great. But of course, on the big ships, they always charge more and more to get in those. But the nice part about Viking, if your budget allows you to get on board, you're getting a veranda room. So right away, that's a real plus. Every single room on board has a veranda room. And by the way, Viking ships have right around 930 guests on board. So you're talking about 465 rooms. But again, everything has a veranda. And of course, like, all cruise ships out there, there's bigger versions, penthouse verandas, penthouse suites, bigger suites, explorer suites, owner suite. But again, everything has a veranda. So that's a real plus in my mind. Now, the second thing that they include is they include 1 shore excursion at every port. Now, I did a full video on this in the description underneath this video. I'll put a link to that video, so I'm not going to get too much into it. But like I tell people, yes, they include 1 shore excursion in every port, but you got to be a little bit careful. They don't mean we have 20 excursions and you can pick whatever one you want. They mean they include 1 shore excursion in every port. Now and then you might find a port where a couple include it, but it's almost always 1. And that means there's a lot of excursions you could pay more for. When I actually did my excursions video, I had a bunch of people get back and say, that's not true. We hardly spend anything extra on Viking for excursions. Because like I say, because there's so many extras you pay for, in my experience with my clients, you can pay a lot more. So some people said that they hardly ever spend extra. And I'm happy that they do include the basics. But with my clients, I see it all the time. So I'll just give an example. Last week, I have some clients going to Alaska, and it's a 10-day cruise with 6 port stops. They paid $3,400 extra for excursions between them. So what is that? $1,800 each, something like that, or $1,700 each. So 6 ports, that's almost, I don't know, what, $560, $570 more per port between them. So again, you think about if you go on a longer trip and if you follow that trend, 10, 12, 20 ports, some of these sailings are long. So you can spend thousands of extra. If you look at that Alaska itinerary, I literally added it up, and like 79 of the 87 excursions that Viking offers, you actually have to pay more for. That means for 90% of the excursions, you got to pay more for. Even on the river cruises, I just did one with Tauck last month and never paid a dime for excursions. I looked at Viking just to compare. 60% of the excursions that they offer, you have to pay for. So again, it's great that they do include an excursion in every port, and if you can take advantage of that, that's wonderful, because it's not going to add another penny to your, to your overall, trip. And if you look at someone like Oceania, who's a direct competitor of Viking, they include no excursions. So, again, if you like that basic one, great, go ahead and do it. It won't cost you any more, but do be prepared. You may pay some more for others. I will, again, put my other video underneath this one so you can learn more about it. But again, I do love that they do include excursion in every port, and I hope you can use it because that is a bonus that you don't normally get, especially on the big ships. So to get that included is a wonderful thing if you can take advantage. Now, the next thing that they include, which is a really big thing, is all meals. And the reason I say all meals is because, again, if you've been on any of the big ships, the Royal Caribbeans, the Carnivals, the Princesses, the Celebrities, the Holland Americas, they charge for more and more food these days. It's getting ridiculous, to be honest. I mean, since COVID, I've just never seen the prices go so high. So I found on a lot of the ships, their basic meals in the main dining room, the buffet, where it's included, the quality has really gone down. They want you to go to the specialty restaurants. I mean, I was on a cruise, I think it was, about a year and a half ago with Celebrity. Myself and my partner spent over $800 on meals in specialty restaurants. So on Viking Ocean Cruises, you won't pay a dime for meals. They're going to include, of course, like, everywhere, they've got the buffet, they've got the main dining room, they've got, the cafe where you can go get some, pastries and sandwiches and stuff. Even 24-hour room service, a lot of the big ships now charge for that. So no charges for room service, which is great. And then they do have two specialty restaurants on board. One is called Manfredi's, which is an Italian restaurant. The other one is a chef's table. And the chef's table is like a 5-course, almost like a tasting menu, changes every few days. But again, no charge for these. On other companies, you'd be paying $50, $60, $70 a person. So again, that's a great inclusion. All your meals are going to be included when you take a Viking Ocean Cruise. Another thing is Wi-Fi. Everyone needs to be connected these days, as far as I'm concerned. Even if you don't work anymore, you're retired, you want to keep in touch with the grandkids, or you want to keep an eye on your stocks, or maybe your favorite sports team or whatever. We just all need to be in touch. Even when you're traveling with your partner, or maybe you've got other friends on board, you want to be messaging back and forth. So again, I've been on cruises where it's like $30 to $35 a day for Wi-Fi. It's just ridiculous how expensive it is. But again, Viking includes that. And, there's one per person, and you can switch your devices. So like if I'm Viking, I could be on my laptop 1 minute. Maybe I close my laptop and, go off to dinner. I can switch to my phone and make sure I'm still in contact. So again, one per person, and you can swap it on your devices. So wherever you go, you'll always be in contact. Great perk. You're not paying, 10, 20, 30 bucks a day for that, which is wonderful. Another thing that I really like on Viking Ocean Cruises that they include is I think they call it the Live Nordic Spa. They have like a thermal suite is what I always call these things. I've been on, like I said, 90 plus cruises, so I've seen all these thermal suites where they have like heated beds and a hydrotherapy pool. On Viking, they also got, of course, a sauna, and they even have this snow grotto where there's like man-made snow in there. It's like this cold room. It's really cool. But the point is like even, Viking's competitor Oceania, I think they charge something like $40 a day to use their area like that. Now with Oceania, if you're in certain rooms, you do get that included in your price. But with Viking, everyone does. So whether you're in the most basic veranda room or you're in the owner's suite or whatever, everyone can go in there for no extra charge. So again, none of this $30, $40, $50 a day thing. So if you like to relax, especially during the sea day, that's not going to be an extra charge, which is a real plus. And then the last thing that they include would be the self-service laundry. May not sound like a big deal, but I mean, a lot of Viking cruises are like, 10, 12, 14. I have people on board for 10 to 20, 30 days. I've had people do world cruises with Viking. So when you're on board for that long, you can imagine, you need to recycle your clothes. And if you have them, yes, they'll do the laundry for you for a fee, but like a hotel, it's not cheap, $2, $3 for a pair of underwear and socks. And, you can pay hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But again, if you don't mind going to the self-service laundry and doing your own, that's going to be included, the detergent and everything, which is a great thing. So again, for the inclusions, like I said, we've got everybody gets a veranda, one excursion per port. Again, it's basic, but hopefully you can use it. If not, do be prepared to pay some extras. All your food's going to be included on board. One thing I didn't mention is when you're at your meals, lunch and dinner, they're going to actually include beer, wine, and soft drinks. So again, this is a real plus because again, I know the big ships have packages, but it's not a normal inclusion always. You always got to pay more to have drinks included. So again, with Viking, every time you sit down for lunch or dinner, they're going to include beer, they're going to include wine, they're going to include soft drinks. A real plus that you don't have those expenses. Also, pretty much 24/7. You can get, tea, coffee, water at the buffet usually. And I know the big ships do that too, but they're usually basic coffee. Viking kind of has more like the specialty, coffee machines if you want a latte or Americano or whatnot, which is great. So again, that's going to be included as well. And then the other things I mentioned were the Wi-Fi. the Nordic spa thermal suite, we'll call it, and then of course the self-service laundry. So some great inclusions, which is going to really keep your costs down, which means when you look at the cost of a Viking cruise, you're looking at a lot of it already. You're not going to be nickel and dime to death like you are on the big ships. With that said though, there are going to be a few things that you got to pay extra for, because again, the purpose of this video is my clients are always trying to get to their final budget, and that's what I'm trying to do, is just show them some things that they're going to pay extra for. So one thing you got to pay extra for on Viking Ocean Cruises, and this is the same on Viking River Cruises, and real quickly, if you go back to Viking River Cruises, not everyone gets a veranda, but they do include one excursion per port. Like I said though, they charge for lots of extras. All meals are included on Viking River. Beer, wine, soft drinks at meals is included. Wi-Fi is included, but they don't have a Nordic spa on board. They don't do the self-service laundry thing. And like I said, not everyone gets a veranda. So similarities, but again, this is more about Viking Ocean Cruises. So one thing that neither Viking River or Viking Ocean Cruises includes is gratuities for the staff. So currently right now, it's $20 per person a day. And of course, that's always changing. It might be gone higher by the time you watch this video, but about $20 per person per day is what we're looking at. So again, I don't know why, but I find almost all my Viking Ocean Cruises are on at least a 14-day cruise. So, let's think about that. 14 times 20 per person. So $280 a person, $560 per couple. So pretty significant. So you got to budget that in. Now, I said earlier, one of the things included here you should be getting for free. So for example, when my clients book through me, because as a travel agent, we always get access to perks. We're always going to get a better deal than you can directly with Viking. And this is with all the cruise lines. So with a lot of my clients, depending on the length of the sailing, they're going to get hundreds of dollars. Well, they're always going to get something, but the amount of onboard credit they get depends on the length of the sailing. Viking, regulates it up to 7 days. We can add so much, up to 14 so much, and anything 15, nights plus we can add. But the point is, I almost always cover my clients' gratuities. I think as long as your sailing is 25 days or less, I'm pretty much going to cover all them. Even if you book direct with Viking, I have a lot of people who, as long as they book within 60 days, they just, get a hold of me, send me their booking number, and I can still add the onboard credit to take care of your gratuity. So hopefully you're getting that taken care of for you. But again, if you're booking direct and, maybe you book more than 60 days out, you can't get this. So again, you got a budget. Again, 20 per person, 40 per couple per day, every day. But again, hopefully that's going to be covered for you by your travel agent, and for sure my clients, it's almost always covered. So that's something to think about, is the gratuities. Another thing you got to keep in mind is, like I said, they do include beer, wine, soft drinks at lunch and dinner. But again, that's not everything, of course, when it comes to alcohol. So a lot of people like hard liquor. They might want a scotch or a rum or a Bailey's or whatnot. So they don't include any hard liquor at all. They don't include beer, wine, and soft drinks outside the meals. Now, a couple of notes about that. Number one, they do offer, they call it the Silver Spirits beverage package upgrade. Currently, that's $27 a person a day. Again, could be gone up by the time you watch this video. But that is a really good value in my opinion. A lot of the big ships out there, they're charging 60, 70, 80, 90. One of them charges like $120 a person a day for their drinks package. So Viking says for $27 a day, then you can pretty much have drinks all the time. And again, we're not just talking wine, beer, and soft drinks. Now we're also talking hard liquor. So it doesn't take much. I mean, if you like maybe 2 or 3 rum and cokes a day, or a scotch or whatnot, or glasses of wine in the afternoon or in the evening when you're at the lounge, you're going to pay for all that. But $27 a day is really not a lot. It's easy to go on a cruise and have 2 drinks and spend 30, 40 bucks a day, for 2 or 3 drinks. So, if you do have any amount of drinks at all, do pay attention to that $27 Silver Spirits package. Now, another thing that Viking does unique is they're not trying to nickel and dime you to death like the big ships, because the big ships, when you try to take alcohol on board, they confiscate it. They don't throw it away or drink it. They'll just hold it at the end of the cruise. They'll give it back. I think all of us who've been on, as many cruises as I have, especially, we've all probably tried that at some point, and sure enough, they catch you, and, it's embarrassing and everything else. But the thing is, on Viking, they're not about that. They're not about nickel and diming you to death. So if you want to bring booze on, they literally don't care. You could be in, I don't know, maybe you're in Italy and you find this, grappa or something. You can bring it on. You don't need to hide it. You can drink it. In the lounge, they're not going to charge you a cork each free. You can bring back a bottle of wine and ask the wine or your server in the restaurant to open it for you and pour it and serve it. Again, they're not charging you a corkage fee, because some cruise lines allow you to do that, but then they want to charge you $25, $30 just to open the bottle for you. It's a bit ridiculous. So again, even though Viking doesn't include hard liquor and not beer, wine, soft drinks all the time, they do have the $27 per person per day Silver Spirit upgrade package, which is a good value in my opinion. And like I said, you can also bring on your own alcohol. So that's not necessarily negative. They don't include those things because they do give you some nice flexibility there. But again, you want to keep that in mind for budgeting purposes if you are going to do the $27 a person a day. Now, the last couple of things, of course, that most cruise lines don't include, airfare. Now, for a while there, Viking, I found years ago, were including airfare in a lot of their trips, but a lot of people want to do their own airfare. They want to pick their own schedules and stuff. So basically, Viking doesn't do that as much anymore. Now and then they might have a promo. Or like if you're doing a world cruise or a long trip with Viking, they may even include business class airfare. So the point is that, a lot of times they don't include airfare. So a lot of my clients say, hey, Shawn, should I book airfare with Viking or should I not? My general rule of thumb is no. There's a whole reason why, but it usually comes down to it's overpriced. And even if it's not, you don't have as much control over your schedules. And there's a lot of fees to fly in early, to stay late, to pick your schedule and all kinds of stuff. Again, like the excursions I talked about earlier, I made a whole video on should you book airfare with Viking or not. Again, I'll put it in the description underneath this video. Check it out because it is very informative. And then the last thing, same thing along the lines, is travel insurance. Now, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've booked almost $100 million worth of travel. Again, I've been in 90 plus countries. I've been on 91 cruises. I've seen so many issues with people having to cancel trips for medical reasons, for you name it. I've had one time I had a couple of their house burnt down. It got struck by lightning. I mean, I've just seen it all over the last 2 decades. So because of that, and because a lot of people know things can go wrong, about 80% of my clients get travel insurance. But a lot of them are, they're always wondering, should I buy my travel insurance through Viking? Should I buy it independently? So for example, like I work with a third-party company called Allianz. So, with Viking, here's my general rule of thumb, is that if you're 66 or over, more often than not, it's going to be cheaper to buy Viking's insurance. If you're 65 or younger, more often than not, it's going to be cheaper to buy Allianz's insurance if I set that up for you. But again, there's some nuances. It all comes down to like your age, what state you're from, what you're doing before and after your cruise. So again, I made a full video on this, which covers should you buy Viking's insurance or third party. I'll put it in the description underneath, so I won't get into any more of that now. But hopefully, you can get some value out of that video. So there you go. I hope that, helps you budget your Viking cruise, helps you make sure, helps you decide if they are the cruise line for you or not. Again, I covered 7 things that they do include, 4 that they don't. If I left out anything, leave me a comment and let me know. Any questions, let me know. Just leave a comment or go to my website at shawnpower.com. And beyond that, I hope you got some great value out of this today. And I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.